Good morning, friends. A little later in the morning for me, and it's a colder day for me, -10 out here right now, and I forgot my coffee, but you know what? It's okay. It was almost empty, and my son picked on me for wearing a coat over my robe, and I told him it's cold outside. And I didn't want to talk about this around him. I have a follower going to remain nameless, asked me to talk once again, and I've talked many times, and I've probably changed my stand a few times on youth and cannabis. And what I mean by that. Do I support it? What's my thoughts on it? So many in my generation, like Cheech and Chong kind of people, have started at very young ages and seem to be doing well. That kind of thing. Wondering, should a young under 18 person smoke it? Now, it's a difficult one, and I know already a few of you have maybe even thumbs down me. People aren't going to agree on this subject. I personally feel, even though I started at a very young age, under 12, really dumb. And I'm saying I was really dumb. Do I wish I hadn't? Not really. I am where I am because I am what I am. Live with no regrets. But if you have choices to make better choices. Maybe we can learn from each other. I think that unless you have a medical reason to use anything, try to keep the unusual stuff like cannabis away from yourself until you're 18 to 25, until your brain is fully developed, until testing proves otherwise. Yes, many of us have gone through life having started young and had a pretty good life. I had a pretty good life. I worked really hard. I got 2 degrees. I met a lot of people. I did really well. But I also have no idea if my crash at about 50 and my mental and physical breakdown had anything to do with me screwing with my brain when I was only 12 years old. I don't know that. And I don't want any of my kids touching it till they're adult or ever. If we can go through our lives without enhancing or changing our perspective, then I think we're doing just a bit better. Doesn't mean that I'm against it. I love cannabis. I love what it's done for me. I love how it's helped me in my later years and how it keeps my pain away. But sometimes I wish that I could just be clean, that I could just have nothing, that I didn't need to rely on anything. Druthers, if I had my druthers, I'd be clean and I'd be working still. I loved my job. I really did. I wouldn't have long hair though. So, do I have regrets? None. But unless you're a child with epilepsy or a teenager with extreme anxiety where a doctor says, hey, you could do better with a bunch of CBD or even with THC, if you have a doctor's support and your parents' support, then power to you. But if you don't, if you're just doing it just to have fun and just to fit in, I wish I hadn't. I kind of wish I hadn't, because I did it to fit in. I did it because of peer pressure. I started smoking cigarettes because of peer pressure. And if I had anything to back up, that's one thing, that's a regret I have. I'm sorry. Live with no regrets, that's a regret I have. I ended up smoking cigarettes for 35 years, and I smoked the cigarettes first and then had a few tokes later. So maybe just if I hadn't taken that first drag of a cigarette. So I can't give advice, and I don't give advice. I just give my opinion. that unless you have a medical reason, and unless and until testing and research proves otherwise, let's just say cannabis probably isn't good for you until you're an adult, unless you have a medical reason. Yes, I'm nervous about putting this out there because I don't want to upset any of you. This is just an opinion of an old guy who has been all over the place on this opinion because it's a tough one, and every single circumstance would change my opinion because it's very circumstance specific. So friends, peace and cheers, love and harmony. I hope I touched on this in the right way and it spurs on a good discussion. And I wish you all the best of Tuesday. Peace and cheers, love and harmony.